Hey, hello everybody. Um, my name is Daniel. This is my Class Zero Cadet video for the Final Fantasy trading card game. Um, yeah, I just wanted to take some time to talk about the Class Zero Cadets, why I play them, why I like them, why I think they're good, and just in general, why they're so much fun. Um, So if we jump right into it, this is my build that I'm using. This is the deck that I'm playing, and my locals and everything. I've been testing with this for a little bit. Been playing the Class Zero Cadets since Opus 3, since when they came out. Been ride or die on them for a very long time. I really like this deck because it's very, as a player, it's very me centric. It's very aggro, could swarm really easily. You got a lot of little dudes and just cards that benefit on having a lot of the same like job and body. Um, yeah, let me jump right into the cards that I'm using, why I'm playing, the amount that I'm playing. So right now I have 33 forwards. This right now feels pretty good for me. It could be less, like it could be 27, it could be 30. 33 seems really nice. I am running mainly a Wind Lightning version with a splash of fire in there. I got 8 fire cards in the deck. Um, Starting off with the forwards that I use, it's going to be one copy of Opus 25 Sice. Uh, this card is interesting. It gains haste on 5 cadets. It enters, deals 3k to something, and on attack it deals 3k to something. Mainly there just as a choice for my rem to choose. I could just pay 1 for it. Next up, I have Opus 3 Starter Deck Queen. This card's pretty cool as an EX burst. It basically functions like the Jack from Opus 25, but it instead checks cadet forwards. The LB Machina over here and like just other sort of smaller cadets. You could either dull something, or you can fight, or you could just break something. So on 2 forwards she dulls, on 5 forwards she breaks. Next up we have Opus 16 Zidane. It's just a good card, good win card. Steal something on entry, steal something on attack. If he is the 3rd card cast, he gains haste, which you can very easily do in this deck. Next up, I have Opus 21 Machina. This card's really good, in my opinion. If you can't LB the Machina on like an earlier turn, and you have this card just basically says, here, be more aggressive, you know? He gains 3k in haste on 2 or more cadets, so he counts himself. So you just need like a backup or another forward out, and he gains 3k haste. And then he also can't be chosen by summons. Pretty cool to stop things like a burst Odin or something like that. Next up, we have the new Opus 25 Cater. Just a draw. You just play her to draw. She's a burst draw. Simple, easy, and effective. Next up, we have Opus 22 Sice. This is the Sice that I mainly want to cast. Just because she reduces on having 2 or more cadets, so she becomes a 1 cost. And when she enters, she checks how many cadets you have, and then you can choose one of your opponent's forwards and break it. Really cool card, really like it. Next up, one of the main key pieces of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Opus 25 Queen. This card, really insane. Just allow being able to activate on your turn 2 backup cadets means you could potentially give 2 things haste with 7, or use 9 twice when attacking. You could just do a lot more of it. Her other effect of removing 2 cards in your opponent break zone is also pretty good, since it's not limited to once per turn. Next up we have Rem. Rem is probably the main card in the deck. This card is just hella good. On entry, you pay X. So once you pay that X, you get to search for a Class 0 cadet of that cost. So this could be a backup, this could be a forward. You're mainly going to want to hit your 2s to 3s. So you're mainly looking for a queen, 8, 7, 9. I play one copy of Opus 3 Deuce here, but I'll get to the backups a little later. Or like a tray or something. Other cards you can play off of Rem are the Ace and the Jack. Both are really good on entries. I'll get to them a little later. Her other effect is to tap her, put her into the break zone, and activate all of your cadets. Now, this is where she gets really crazy, because if you have a 7 out with, let's say, enough cadets to tap everything, give her haste, and then maybe another forward haste, or just do other effects, you can crack her to restand everything, and then either play her again off of a sync, or, if you had one in your hand, or just do a lot more, like, other combos with all of the characters you have activated now. But yeah, this is why Rem is incredible in this deck. Very, very, very strong legend for the cadets. Next up, I play 3 copies of 8, Opus 25 8. This card functions sort of like I believe it's the Opus 23 Estinian, except instead of him doing it on attack, he has to deal damage. It's just pretty good early on. Combine this with like Opus 21 Machina, and you can do some really good early aggression plays. This is just generally a really good card you want to see early, so I'm playing 3 copies of it just because I really want to see it. Next up, this is like a tech card, but I still sort of like this card. It's the Opus 9 King. I play 1 copy of this card, mainly because he is a colorless cadet that I could just slap down. And when I mean colorless, his effect is to literally just pitch any Class 0 cadet from your hand, and you can play him. So, he is a good sort of free body. When he enters, he does have the other added effect of making something not block. So this is pretty good to get around bigger like blockers if you don't have like an ace to dull out, or you don't see the jack to break it, or like a 7 tray or sink to break. Pretty cool card. He's good just for the job, and that's pretty much why I use him. Next up, we have our big bad boy Opus 21 Ace. This card's super useful in this deck. On entry, draw a card. On attack, draw a card. This combined with 7, 2 draws right there. His other effect, to discard 1 card from your hand and dull a forward, and giving himself 1k power. Really strong. Could easily dull out your opponent's forward, so all of their blockers, any attackers, if it's on like their turn. Combined him, like, let's say you swing with Ace, combined him with the new backup 9. You can pay 1, tap him, and then give your Ace 1k first strike, so now he's at 9k with first strike. It's pretty cool. He can easily get around cards like Wall, 4-colored Wall, or like, just other annoying cards. Next up, this card you're probably not going to cast ever, but I play it as a fire card to pitch, and mainly for the backups S. It's going to be the new Opus 25 Trey. He's just there. You don't really care to see it. You don't really want to play it. If you do ever end up playing it, he deals 2k for each Class 0 cadet you control. He can effectively kill most things in the game, but it's not really worth it when you could do an easier clean break like a 7, or just play a jack, so he's mainly there for CP, and because he's a cadet, so why not? Speaking of Jack, we are playing the new Opus 25 Jack at 3 copies. This card's a burst. When he enters, he either dulls something, or if you control 5 Class 0 cadets, so either forwards or backups, or a combination of the mix, you can choose a forward and break it instead. He does have the S ability of breaking a forward, which is really nice for 1 lightning and himself. You do have to tap him for it, but it is pretty good. Generally, you want to play this either as your 6th cadet, or off of like a Rem or a Sync. Mainly because it's better to cheat this card out than to kind of cast it. But if you do end up casting it, you want to make sure you're at least breaking something of value on their side. But yeah, he's a good card. Next up, we have our Opus 16 Cecil. Now I'm playing this as another just general good win card like tech. What his effect is on entry, I can play a 4 or less from my hand, so one character of 4 or less, so forward or backup. Um, that's basically my whole deck except for the 6-cost ace. Um, and then he also has the added effect when one or more characters gets chosen by an ability or a summon. If my opponent doesn't pay 2 CP, that effect gets cancelled. This is really strong because it also protects your backups. So if they want to freeze a backup or dull it or do anything to it, they have to pay the added 2. This also combos really well, again, with like a jack or a ace, where you can play Cecil and play one or the other. If you play ace, you get a card back. And then if you have 7, you get 2 cards, so your Cecil was pretty much paid 1 CP. You could also play cards like Queen. Sync is a good one. Basically anything in your deck is good, minus like Trey off of the Cecil. But yeah, that's why I play Cecil. He's just generally good. And then our last forward is going to be 2 copies of the new Opus 25 Ace. It is a fire card. However, this card does read. He does reduce for each. He reduces by 1 for each Class 0 Cadet and or fire character I control. So since I'm playing nothing but cadets, he's always usually going to be either 3 or less, or just free. So, and then he also has, at the end of the turn, if your opponent hasn't received 5 points of damage or less, you deal your opponent 1 point of damage. So what that means is, if your opponent isn't at basically damage 5 or 6, you deal your opponent 1 point of damage at the end of turns. This is really strong, especially because you can basically make him a 3-cost on turn 1, and by turn 2 he can either be free or you played him for 2. Super cool card, especially when you're aggroing your opponent with, just a bunch of little bodies early on. If your opponent doesn't respond in time, you can deal a lot of damage and it can get out of control. I'm going to skip over the one summon just because it's just the new Adramelech. It just deals 7k to the board and then deals you 1 point of damage, but you don't really care about the 1 point of damage. It's just a card I play because I like it. This could be any summon. But for the backups, again, I play 1 copy of Opus 3 Deuce. The reason I play this is because of Rem, and because I wanted to see another wind backup in this deck. So Rem can play it out, or you could pitch 2 to play the 9, or 7. So it's just a good backup. You tap 1 wind and herself to choose 1 attacking forward and deal it 2k. You don't really care about that one. The big one is her S ability. You tap 1 wind and tap her to deal 4k for each cadet forward you control, to 1 forward on the opponent's side. Or sorry, just to 1 forward in general. So you can technically blow up your forward if you want to play another copy of it. Let's say you wanted to blow up your Sice to play Fire Sice or another copy of, Lightning Sice. You could effectively do that. But yeah, since we play 3 copies of the Fire Deuce from Opus 25, I could effectively do her S pretty easily. I'm playing 3 copies of this Fire Deuce mainly for the burst. It is also a good card to play. She reveals the top 4 and adds 1 cadet to your hand. You're probably never going to whiff this unless you get really unlucky with like a 2 Zidane, 2 Cecil, or, any combination of 2 of those and the Adramelech. But you're rarely ever going to whiff this. We play 3 copies of the new Opus 25 9. Now this is optional. You don't have to play this 9. You could play Class 0 Mog. You can play 1 copy of Rem, 2 Arciellas, or Arecias, sorry. You could play 2 copies of Class 0 Mog and a Deuce, 1 more of the Opus 3 Wind Deuce. This is just there because I actually like it. Giving 1k first strike to, let's say, a Machina or the Opus 21 Machina, or like Jack or 8 or Ace is pretty strong. Again, with Queen, it does allow your 7K cadets to swing in pretty safely, because they can go up to 9K if you use the Queen combo. Um, and it's just easy CP to play out, so you can get that cast 3 on Zidane more effectively. Um, Next up, we have the star backup, in my opinion, which is 7. I was talking about her a lot when I was talking about the forwards, but the Opus 25 7 is extremely strong. She has the effect of dull to active job class 0 cadets, and you choose one cadet forward and give it haste. Why is this really strong? Well, combine this with Rem, Queen, Ace, practically any of your cadets. That isn't 8 because he already gains haste, and Machina because he'll have haste. But combine this with any of them, and you are looking at a very aggressive, just like turn of play. Um, you can just easily swarm out and give everything haste and start poking your opponent for just damage. Um, Her S ability is choose one forward. If it is equal or less than the number of cadets you control, you break it. So this is basically like another Scythe that is sort of on demand. You can combo this with Queen. You can combo this with Rem. And you could just break a bunch of different cards on your forwards on your opponent's side. So very, very deadly card indeed. Um, this card functions immediately on play, so it's pretty useful. Next up, we have 3 copies of Opus 21 Trey. This is probably going to be in every cadet deck, but it is the burst recursion for cadets. It's useful on play as well because it recurs, and it has the added S ability of paying 1 lightning, 1 of anything, tapping him, and then choosing a forward and dealing it 9k. So let's say your opponent Shantotos, you can effectively do a Trey to pop your forward to put it into the break zone instead of having it get removed. You could also do the same thing with 7 to kill one of your forwards so that way it doesn't get removed. Same thing with Deuce. Since they just say choose a forward, it doesn't have to be your opponent's forward. And then lastly, since I already said I was playing 3 copies of Opus 25 Deuce, lastly we have 3 copies of Opus 25 Sync. This card is a very strong combo card off of Rem, off of Cecil, and just in general, just playing it. Early on, you can effectively always get 9-7 out on the field with any of your other like smaller cadets or even like a Queen out. If you do like 9-7 turn 1, turn 2 play like Queen or something, you could effectively then go into a sync into like another cadet that you had pitched. I would say Ace on that turn if you did have it in hand, so you can at least go back up a card and you paid 2 CP for the sync. But yeah, she's effectively a 2 CP cadet always. Again, the turn 1 plays of 9-7 with a sync. If you just go balls to the wall and pitch your whole hand, you can effectively play out a Machina early, have him be 8k, haste, can't be chosen by summons, and then start poking out. Since you would be at 3 cadets, you could choose, 3 or less. You could even do Queen, reactivate 2 of your cadets, and then, have her swing by giving her haste. But yeah, really powerful card here. LBs could be sort of anything. The ones I want to highlight are going to be Fire Machina. You're going to be wanting to play Opus 25 Machina at least at a 2 of. He is a 2 CP LB1. You can only use him if you don't have any forwards, so turn 1 he is the strongest, and after your opponent wipes your board, he is the strongest. So if you're playing against Earth decks that use a Shantoto, or just like, they blow everything up on the board, he is a great way to come back and be like, well, now I'm gonna LB Machina. I'll play another card, another cadet, and then I'll give it haste, and then I'll give the other cadet haste, or things like that. The other LB I want to highlight is LB Ace. It's a cadet. He's there. You're probably not gonna cast it, but he is there. Um, but yeah, those are the two LBs that I mainly want to highlight. Machina's effect is just he gets stronger for each point of damage you have taken. So he's a 4K normally. He could get up to, I believe, like 10K or so, something like that. Really good. You're probably only going to use him early on, and then he'll probably die off. Ace LB, his effect is when he enters, he deals 1K for each win character you control to all of the opponent's forwards. So, if you have Deuce, Nine, uh, Queen, Setup, and Cecil, he'll also count himself, so you can ping a lot of damage on the board. And then when he attacks, he flips the top card of the deck. If it's a win card, you add it to hand. If not, it just stays there. Useful to see what you're going to draw into. Probably not. Again, you're probably not going to cast him. He is an 8 cost LB3. So you're probably not going to cast him often. But he is there to be a cheeky, haha, I have enough CP to play this, and then swing. But yeah, that's the reason why I have these two in here. I do have another version of the deck of the Class 0 Cadets, which I will show you now. It's going to be a more Wind Lightning version. This one only has 27 forwards, and it is slightly different from this one, as I'm playing one more Deuce. I'm playing one more Cater, and one more Deuce. One less 9, one less 8, and one less Sice. But I added different summons. So I added 6 summons, which are going to be Opus 1 Odin. It's 7 cost. It's a EX Burst, classic good card. And then the other one is going to be the Opus 23 Odin, the 9 drop EX Burst that also just breaks something. This deck is mainly focused on more bursts. So you have also the Opus 3 Rem in this deck, where if you burst it, it's very good because you just recur any Class 0 card, or any Type 0 card, sorry. Which is going to be any of your cadets, honestly. You can still, I know I changed the LBs here, but you could still run LB Machina if you want. But you just have less fire cards. You only have the 3 Deuce. Again, I still kept the 3 Deuce because it is a really good burst for the deck. But this 3 Deuce could change to 3, I say this could change to either 3 Reeves, or 2 Reeves and a Aresia, or 2 Reeves and a Class 0 Moogle. But yeah, I'm still going to keep playing the 3 Deuce. So this is the other variant. It's just more consistent, more safer. If 3 colors is a little bit too much for you, and you feel like you don't know what to play, or if you get a little scared of seeing 3 colors, this is like the version that I would say to play. Next up, I want to just go over other cards. So other cadet cards that you may look at. Just looking at the newer ones and some older ones. The new Opus 25 King isn't a bad option. At a 1 of. Paying 5 for it to either return something or bottom deck, you're probably always going to want that bottom deck effect, is pretty strong. And then a 9K Haster is just always good. Other cadets that I would recommend would be Opus 21 9. This card is still useful. He takes 2K less damage, so even though he's a 7K, he'll always be taking 5K from, let's say, a 7K blocker. He can live 8K blockers, or block 8Ks, so it's pretty nice. He also has the added effect of paying 0 to dull something, if you have 2 or more cadets, which you'll always have. Other cadets I would look at, depending on your build, you could play Opus 13 Sync. I wouldn't recommend it, but I would recommend Opus 13 8. So this guy gets reduced for each cadet you control. So as soon as you have 3, he is free. He does gain haste on cast 2, so it's a little bit of a storm card as well. Um, Opus 13 Cater isn't a bad card either. If you're playing a more storm version, or let's say you're playing a Firewind version and you want her for CP, or if you just want to reactivate those 3 backups, you can do a cool sync play where you can you can play sync and then recast her from your break, reactivate all of your backups, play Queen. Queen reactivates 2 backups, and then you could go from there. So things like that. You have Opus 13-9 is pretty good if you want to be more aggressive. Dull 1 active Fire Cadet and 1 active Lightning Cadet forward, and he enters in for just 2. This with Rem is really strong because, you could just dull out 2, give Rem haste, pop Rem, and then those 2 that you dulled become active again, and they can swing. And then you could give 9 haste. When he enters and attacks, he chooses 1 forward the opponent controls and minuses it by 2k power for each cadet you control. So he can pretty much kill everything on entry, on attack, depending on how you're set up. Another good cadet card is Opus 9 Ace. He is a great burst. If you're playing more fire, or if you want to just have his cool when entry effect of revealing the top 7 cards and adding 2 cadets. Basically paying for himself in most situations. He's also just good as a burst. Even though he counts cadet forwards, he will 2k ping for each cadet forward you have, which you're always going to have cadet forward, so it's pretty good. Other cadets you could maybe look at if you really want to go all the way back to the beginning. You have Opus 3-8. He activates 3 cadet characters when he enters. Phantom Rush is also pretty cool, his S ability. So he can't be chosen by summons or abilities, and the next damage dealt to him is 0. So if this guy is played on turn 2 or something, and let's say your opponent responds on their turn with an LB Cloud and you have the Phantom Rush in hand, you could do that to prevent him from dying. Opus 3 Sice is also pretty cool. Think of the Opus 13-9, but on a 2-drop. When she attacks, she minuses 1k for each cadet you control onto one of your opponent's forwards, and then her S ability is choose 1 forward, it loses 4k. So it's pretty cool. There are things you can do with this card that are pretty neat. Sice has just generally good cards in general, so play around with them. Other non-cadets or honorary cadets that I would say to look at would be Opus 18 Bart's here. So when he enters, you name a job and an element. You gain the job, and then Bart's will gain 2k power for each forward that shares that job. And then the element, when you call it, he can't be chosen by summons or ability that share that element. So it is very strong to play Bart, call class 0 cadet, and then call whatever element you're playing against. I will say if you do fight against lightning, be careful. That means 7 cannot give him, 7 can give him, sorry. I thought it was any of that element. No, it's only your opponent's summons or abilities that share the element. So yeah, forget. So he is actually even more useful. But yeah, he's just an honorary cadet that comes in, gets big, and then is something your opponent has to deal with. Next up, Opus 19 Zidane. This is if you want to play a Firewind variant, or if you're splashing more fire in, and you don't want to play the Opus 16 Zidane that I'm playing, you can play this one. This is just a good card. I think you always play this in most Firewind decks. He's just super useful. I'm not going to spend too much time on him because he is just a good card. Again, this is the reuse that I mentioned before when I said you can, make cards put in cards for like Reeves. Um, this guy's just a burst. He flips the top three. Only you look at them, but you add one card in there to your hand. Super useful. Other cards that work with cadets, the new Opus 25 Reno. You may be wondering, well, how does this work if he can give a Turk haste? That's the thing, he'll just give himself haste. So when you dull something, when an active forward becomes dull due to your summons or abilities, you choose two of the actions. So you will constantly, yes, give him haste, but you can also deal 4k to something. And if we go back real quick, this is why I was saying Opus 21-9 is really strong. Um, this with Ace and Reno just kind of pop off really well together because you can use Ace's effect to discard to dull and then ping something, so that 2 CP that you're wasting is always becoming a 4k ping. Same thing with 9. Then he has an S ability, choose a forward and another forward, dull the former and deal the latter 5k. That one's kind of whatever. It's cool. And on the last card I want to touch on, this is just an optional summon. Again, all of the summons are kind of optional. But this is a card I would definitely take a look at. Is Chocobo Chick from Opus 25. So when you cast this card, again, you're not going to ever use the remove one backup to make it a 1 cost. You'll always just pay 3 for it. There's no point in reducing its cost. But this will deal 2k to all of your opponent's forwards, and then you can play a 2 cost forward. So this is very, very nice with a card like Opus 3 Queen. If you have enough cadets to go, oh, they're going to attack, I'm going to Chocobo Chick into Queen. Now, why is this nice with her? Because if you didn't have the 5 forward cadets, you dull something. So you can dull an attacker. Or if you did have the 5 or more cadets, if she is the 5th cadet or, whatever, you can break a forward instead. So you can just break a problematic card. Other cards that Chocobo Chick can play would probably be Cater. Again, Cater is really cool. We like Cater. Activating 3 is really nice. So the 3 CP you paid for it, if you paid with backups, you could just, bam, free cast. Machina is cool. Opus 21 Machina is cool. Cater, Sice, and that would probably be it. If you are playing Zidans, you can cast Zidane, either the Opus 16 Zidane or the Opus 19 Zidane. Either of those work out very well with this deck. So I would say just look at Chocobo Chick if you have them. They're good for just general use. But yeah, this is the cadet deck that has been working for me in my locals, and just this is the one that's just been vibing with me the most. I am a very big fan of trying to play all of the cadets and just being like, yeah, everyone's here. I do like the splash of fire. It does help in certain situations. I'm usually always seeing a fire card. I don't know what is it with me, but every time I've played this deck, I've always saw a fire card to go turn 1 Machina LB. In terms of matchups, I've played Mono Water. I've played Fire Water like Warriors. I've played Ice Earth against it. I've played Fire Earth Warriors. I've also played against it. I've played Knights against it. But yeah, this has always done very well. I also played a Mono Wind Una list that was using the 4 cards and the new Light Una. That is also another card you could also use in this deck, the Light Una from Opus 25. You could use it in this deck. I probably wouldn't, but it's there. But yeah, all of those games went really well. I was happy with all of my plays. This deck has a lot of crazy cool combos. It's very cheap to build too. So if you were worrying about costs, again, your most expensive card in this deck is going to be Rem. But this deck is really fun, very versatile. You could do Fire Wind with this deck. You could do Fire Lightning. You could do Wind Lightning. You could do Wind Fire. Uh, you don't have to play the 3-colored slop that I'm playing. You can play just general good cards with some cadets. That also works. They work really nice as an engine as well. So just try to look out for different things you can do with the cadets. Have fun with the deck and have fun with the cards that you play. You know, play what's right for you. I do also want to take a quick moment to at least show you like at least 2 test hands of just how things work. So let me just swap my camera real quick, close this browser, and then I can show you this. So I'm going to play out a quick test hand real quick. You know, shuffle my deck, obviously, and then assume my opponent cut my deck. We'll assume we always go first here. You don't really mind going first or second. If you go first, you can aggro. If you go second, you can still aggro. So, but yeah, so our starting hand looking nice. We got Trey, we got Cecil, Sice, Fire Sice, Ace, and Machina. So we would probably keep this. We draw a card, and look at that, bam, 7. So here we would pitch Ace for 7. Reason being that if we see Sync in the following turns, we can just cast that from break. We would LB here. So we would go LB Machina. Get rid of any, whatever, LB. Yeah, so we LB the Machina. And then we would just pass turn on this, right? We go bam and bam. We drew into another ace, but we don't mind because we're going to tap. Pitch the ace to play Trey. Trey is going to get back said ace, right? And then, so that would be a cast 1. Here I would just say play Zidane, right? Since we drew into Zidane as well. We would just pitch the Machina to play Zidane. He doesn't need haste to like pop off. Just stealing 1 card from your opponent's really good. And yeah, this is a pretty decent turn too. You had 2 backups and a Machina who's swinging in for a damage. Your Zidane stole a card, so it's pretty useful. And then on your 3rd turn, you would have King and Rem. You can cast Ace for a draw. You would get Jack, and then you would just go from there. And by go from there, I mean you'd probably play Rem. You would do like something like this, where you do get rid of him, right? To play the ace. Ace will draw you a card. Actually, you probably wouldn't play Rem, but, you know, you could just do this. And it's pretty nice. Works out. Let's do one more, and then I'll close out the video there. But yeah, cadets have a lot of lines of play early on. And their mid game is not that bad either. Neither is their like end game. So this is going to be the last one. And again, this is extremely good hand. We have Sync, Rem, Queen, Sice, and 7 drawing into Jack. We would pitch Jack for 7. And then we would just pass turn here. Yes, we can't LB Machina, but we don't really care about that because we're about to go sicko mode. And by that I mean we're about to pitch Rem, tap the 7 for the Trey, getting back Jack, and then we'll pitch Jack and Queen to play Sync. Sync's effect is going to play Rem. We're going to pay 2. Probably always want to pay 2 here. We're going to actually play Cater here to draw a card. Right? But that Cater could be a backup. That could be 9 or Deuce backup. Could also just be Machina, Opus 21 Wind Machina, just for the added haste aggro. So Cater enters, draws us a card. It's going to be Sice, a little unfortunate, but we don't really care. And then this is our, turn 2? We're already set up with Rem. The opponent has to interact with Rem. If not, then, you know, she just stays on the field. We go 2 cards. Ooh, this is actually extremely good. Because now we can... probably want to play ace, though. Yeah, I'd probably want to play ace. So we pitch the fire ace, tapping these two to play ace, drawing us a card, paying one. For Sice, let's say they had a forward out, Sice kills their forward. If it wasn't like an LB Cloud or something that could break something. Then we'll go give ace haste. We'll crack RM to reactivate everything. We'll give Sice haste. Ace will swing, draw us a card. Cater will swing, and Sice will swing. And that's on turn 3. If 3 cards in hand for aces doling, and you pretty much set up from there. And again, this is why I like cadets. They swarm, they aggro, and that's basically my playstyle in any TCG. I'm a very big fan of just aggro in general, so there's that. But yeah, thank you for watching, and this was just a fun little video that I wanted to make. I'll probably make another video talking about my other stupid, silly decks. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.